Hi everyone, good afternoon and welcome to Navigate Home Facebook Live event today on this snowy Tuesday. Hope everyone's doing well. My name is Valerie McBain. I'm a realtor with Century 21 Sackmar and Associates located in downtown Rochester. And it is my great pleasure to present one of our very own Navigate Home professionals, Dennis James. And Dennis will educate ourselves about long-term care insurance. And before we get started, Dennis, if you could introduce yourself and tell us a little about who you are and what you do.
All right, great. Thank you, Valerie. All right, my name is Dennis James. I'm with Various Insurance Planning. I'm an independent insurance agent. Been in the business over 20 years, and it's a great profession. I meet a lot of nice people, which I like. And it's evolved. I group health, life, disability, dental, and I promote wellness. But in my life, as I have got a little older in my days, right, which we all do, I have experienced long-term care. And that has become really important to people these days. And it's easy for me to talk about it because I've lived it with my own family members. I'm married. I have a wife. I've been married 28 years. Her name's Sue. And I have two young adults, Megan, who's in New York, and Christian, who is actually out of North Carolina, but he likes to be home with mom and dad because we feed him really well. And I'm excited about Navigate Home and what we can bring value to everybody.
That's great. Thank you, Dennis. And so Navigate Home is a professional networking group whose focus is helping people who are aging in their many different decisions and challenges that they're facing. And long-term care is obviously one of them. So how would you define long-term care?
Long-term care, it's very broad, and yet it's very specialized. And really what it's meant, right, it's meant to give support and assistance to people when they really need the help and support. They want to be able to, it's important to be able to function and have, be independent on their own. And that's what long-term care really has meant as people start aging these days, right? I mean, if you look at statistics, over 70% of the people at age 65 are living longer, right? People are living longer. Now, you're going to do one of two things, right? We all are, right? We're either going to be around where we need some long-term care assistance, or we're going to die. It's going to be one or the two. There's no other way out. A little like taxes, right? You pay a price if you don't take care of it. But anyhow, the importance of long-term care is the value that it brings for family members more than anything. Yeah. I can use an example of that from my own mother, right? And really my wife's mom. We lost both of our dads 20 years ago, all right? But our mothers were independent, but it became a time where we had to start taking care of them, all right? And we ended up having to sell their homes. We moved into an independent facility for a while, and all those become very timely for somebody that has a wife and two kids, and we have professions to run. And but you do whatever you have to do for loved ones, and we ended up bringing in people into the home that we could count on. We paid them to do that, and then we know that once we got into facilities, right? There's a lot of value there, but at the same time, there's a very, very big expense. Now, my mother didn't have long-term care insurance, but she had pension and saved for money for retirement and that type of things. But when, in the end, we ended up having to sell down her assets, and she had the money from from her pension and things like that, was able to provide her into a American House and different really nice facilities. And she went through her whole life with that.
So yeah, this is a challenge that family members, the loved ones, are looking at their aging parents. And, as us as aging adults, we want to take a proactive measure, hopefully, such that, we're in control. We can make the decisions how we want to live the last days of our lives. So long-term care, what are the ways that people fund long-term care?
It's a good question because there are two ways to do it. All right, the two ways, self-funding it, right? So usually that's where you have your, CDs, your savings, 401k, IRAs. You may have some real estate, different types of whatever those investments that you had put in. Now, a lot of times, you have to sell some of those. It could be your own cottage, right? If you want to create a legacy, well, the more you worked your whole life for, you don't really want to do that, right? And that's where like a long-term care insurance policy comes into place. And at the same time, it's not a mental because you don't know how long people are going to live, right? Your loved one. But at the same time, it definitely helps create that retirement legacy that you have, right? You're putting on the insurance carrier, right? They're the ones responsible.
And things are going up in price. We look at the college tuitions, how much they've increased in pricing, and guess what? Long-term care is going to cost more and more as we get older. Right now, what are we looking at on an average for, say, one person in a room or in a facility?
Yeah, so, it always varies state to state, just depending where you're at. But, since we're in the great, we're pure Michigan, we're actually doing this. We're living as a vacation in Lake Orion. It is, on an average, it's around $24 for home health care per hour to come in. You start adding that up on a 40-hour week, you're getting around $50,000 a year. You go into an assisted living facility, those are nice. Mm-hmm. But to pay for the room, you're going to be right around $5,000
a month.
$5,000 a month, and that is not including food and some of the extra benefits they bring. And then in the end, guess what happens in most cases? It's called nursing care, right? So where you go into a nursing home, you're looking at just for a semi-private, it's around just under $100,000 per year, and it's up over $110,000 in a private.
So it can eat away at people's savings. So that's why we want to present what Dennis is offering as long-term care insurance. So why would a couple, we've covered some of the things, but
it's really important, right? Why do people buy long-term insurance, right? A big reason is they want to be able to protect their assets, right? Think about it. You work your whole life, right? You want to travel once you retire. Maybe there's hobbies or you want to volunteer, right? You just want to enjoy your retirement years. And so by having a long-term care insurance policy in place, that can help give you that peace of mind, security, right, that everybody wants, right? You don't want somebody, as the second, and that would be the second feature. People buy it because, they want independence and dignity in their decision making. And those funds can be available to do that. And a third thing, which is really important, it always kind of sit big in my heart, is I really don't want my children to have a financial burden, not to depend on me. I don't want that. That's why it's important that and I'm glad I have long-term care insurance because, it's a root of awakening when you don't. But everybody's different, sometimes people have the money, they've earmarked it where they funded it, and that's great. A long-term care policy just helps that, enhances it.
So what type of policies should I be considering when I'm talking about long-term care insurance?
Okay, yep. There's comprehensive long-term care policies, and those those are the ones that I really focus on. But I'm an independent insurance agent, so I'm going to meet people's needs, right? We're all in this business or life to help people, and by doing that, a comprehensive policy is going to cover you. If you need somebody to come in just for home care, just to help as a caregiver, right? And they're experts. You bring home health care, you go into an assisted living facility, it covers that. You go into a nursing home facility, it covers that. You need to be, go to an adult daycare center, it covers that. So it meets all the things that are really important that are going to make sure that your loved ones get the care and need that they deserve.
Okay, so that's one. What are the other ones?
There's what they call non-comprehensive policies. Mm-hmm. And those they focus on specifics, and that could be like nursing home care, that type of thing, right? Or just home health care, right? But they don't do both. It's one or the other type thing. Not real popular, especially the way today people are living, and they've really developed these policies to be comprehensive. But it all depends on the individual too.
Right, and what people can afford and
That's
stuff.
correct. And then there's group policies. They're just not real popular. I would believe that they would become more popular, but I don't see it right now. And the thing there is kind of like if an employer or an association owns it, and they're going to offer to their employees or their members, right? It's and there's limits and benefits of how much benefit amount you can get, that type of thing. I don't see it out there a lot. That doesn't mean it can't change, because I believe it should change.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are the policies tax qualified?
Yes, almost all of them are these days. With HIPAA, Health Insurance Portability Act, that came into play. It's kind of like having an accident or a health insurance policy, right? A lot of those, they want to set them up kind of the same way, so there are tax benefits to it, but there's also certain requirements that you have to have in these policies. Number one, if I, as an example, if I'm going to have health care provided, that policy, it's required that it is prescribed by a healthcare professional.
Okay.
Okay. It has to have what we call inflation on it. All right. It has to be offered, and a lot of the states require it to be in there. Right. We need, if you're purchasing a policy today at age 55, when you're 75. Man, she smiled. That's great. But anyhow, so what's the important? The value to that, right? You're going to need inflation on, so it's required, and non-forfeiture benefits. That if there's changes in the policy, you're always going to have some good options available for you. Policies can only be guaranteed renewable. That means that they can't change the policy. If yours goes up, everybody's in your class has to go up. Let's see, what's some of the other things that I have to think about and consider?
The benefit triggers, how about that?
Yeah, that's really key, and I think it's key. So when I say comprehensive, but it is true. And benefit triggers is activities of daily living, right? And we've probably all heard about that. And that is your bathing, dressing, continence, toileting, transferring, and eating. Those types of things, right? So that's required. And then the other thing is cognitive, right? So, and that triggers right away also. And what that is when somebody needs the support where they cannot function on themselves mentally. That's required.
So with the active daily living things, there's not just one, but two triggers normally have to
Right.
happen.
That's a good, yeah, absolutely. Well, no, it's one or the other, but you have to have two of the 6 activities of daily living. And kind of the norm is 90-day elimination period. So once you get a long-term care policy, it's usually 90 days before it kicks in, and different policies have it different ways. But that's when we were talking about tax qualified, that's key. All right. We were talking about comprehensive policies these days, right? So everybody has a budget, right? So you have to meet that budget. So they create a lot of different options. So if I chose not to have a 90-day elimination period, if I wanted a 30 or 60, I could buy into getting that for myself. It's going to cost me more, right?
Right, but it would activate it sooner.
That's correct. And it's like home health, right? Everybody wants to be in their home as long as possible, right? And that's clear. That's very understood. So there's home health care riders where you can pay up, or it'll give you cash for the home care for a caregiver to come in, or somebody to help that way. That way, that person's staying in the home as long as possible.
And you mentioned that the home caregiver that comes into their home, could it be a family member that comes in or travels or gives up their job, or does it need to be qualified for?
Well, it depends on the insurance carrier.
Okay.
Depends on the insurance carrier. It can be a family member to help pay. There's reimbursement, there's indemnity, all right? So different ways of it being funded. So if I have a long-term care policy, all right, and I'm set up as a reimbursement, all right? So what that means is that they're going to pay based off a certain amount of services that I'm using, all right? So if I go, if you're in an assisted living facility, they're going to know what that is, and it's going to pay that amount.
Okay.
You follow me? So there's a lot of good things in that, because then you're not overspending. You're using what you need, right? Because it's a benefit.
Yes.
You all of a sudden, you don't want to be out of your policy. Where the indemnity is going to give you cash. Some people like that, some don't. There's a lot of benefits to that, because so I can use that cash money because it's going to come right to me, and I can use it whatever way I want to use it.
So is that what you mean by the asset-based plans?
No,
Okay.
Great question. Man, Valerie, you're amazing with these questions. How do you do that? She must read my mind well. Okay, right. So, long-term care. These days, life insurance carriers, you can have a long-term care rider, all right? Remember, like I said earlier, you're going to use one or the other, all right?
Right.
I really like mutual standalone policies, but I also like, and I think becoming very popular, is what we could call asset-based policies. So that is life insurance, and it's the long-term care rider, which a lot of times is more affordable, but then there's advantages and disadvantages of both. And that's a whole nother series that we'd have to talk about.
Well,
all right?
we could.
Annuities, we'll be getting to that. And then, not today. And then there's annuities, right? So where you could have a long-term care rider on there, right? So you've got this retirement fund. It could be in a fixed annuity or index annuity, but it has a long-term care rider. So you use one or the other, and there's both benefits to both of them, right? So that's really what when you hear that famous, popular, doesn't that sound good? Asset-based?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, great. This has been a lot of good information, and obviously there's a lot of variables involved in the whole process. And that's why working with someone like Dennis, who's going to understand what your goals are and what you want to, best cover you, and he's got the information for you. So, Dennis, how can people get a hold of you to ask questions?
Yeah. There's a couple different ways of doing that. You could go to variousinsuranceplanning.com. I have a lot of great information on there in reference to long-term care, and I think it can answer a lot of questions. You could also contact me at any time, 393-3146. I would say connect with Navigate Home. You know, they have a Facebook Live. Eventually, I know there's going to be a website, but this is a great way to start. And, you know, there's a lot of professionals on there that can really help in what I'm discussing. And, you know, when it comes to real estate, right, we have the real estate tycoon, Valerie McBain, focused. And so, yeah, attorneys, but yeah, those would be the sources. And I'd love to, you know, I'm here to help people.
Well, great. And we're very fortunate to have people like Dennis James and other of our Navigate Home professionals, because we have the core values that we all believe in, and it's our mission to help people and at any age in your life. But as we're aging, I mean, there is no guidebook on that. We're kind of learning as we're going along, and we want to make the best of it. And that's what we want to do for you as well. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us on our Facebook Live event. The next one will be next week, Thursday at 7 p.m. Have a great day.
Take care.